We live in a time when the phenomenon of cancel culture is popular. Famous people are cancelled, companies can also suffer from cancel culture. But can the world economy cancel a country like Russia? In this video we will look at the reasons why this will not work. Number 1. Neon. Neon is a very important gas for modern electronics. Without neon, the lasers necessary for the production of semiconductors will not work. Without semiconductors, modern electronics will not work, ranging from phones, laptops, cars, including electric vehicles, to space technologies. Russia has the greatest influence on the neon market in the world. Wait a minute, but Ukraine is the largest supplier of neon to the world market with a share approximately equal to 50% of world supplies. First, based on an estimate by Chen Jina, CEO of Changjiang Nexen Special Gases Company in the eastern province of Jiangsu, the share of Ukraine in the world supply of neon is approximately 40%. Russia has 30%, China also has 30%. Secondly, based on a study by TechSet, which specializes in supply chains, Ukrainian factories purify neon gas, which is a byproduct of the steel industry of Russia. Thus, Russia has influence on the production of 70% of the world's neon gas. The remaining 30% of influence belongs to China. Due to the shortage of neon, its prices have already increased significantly. For example, according to the South China Morning Post, between the 24th of February and the 17th of March, the price of neon in China increased from 1,850 yuan to 16,000 yuan per cubic meter. Now let's imagine a situation where supplies from Ukraine have completely stopped. Russia has imposed a ban on the export of neon. As a result, China becomes a monopolist in this market. And now the question is, what will China do in this situation? It will support its fastly developing semiconductor industry, microelectronics, electric vehicles with supplies of neon, thereby ensuring its economic security, holding back the rising prices for electronics, making its products more competitive. Or it will sell scarce neon to other countries, including competitors in the field of microelectronics, except perhaps at ultra high prices. Of course, China can increase the production of neon, but I think that there will still be significant restrictions on its export. Let's simulate the situation that Russia, China and Ukraine have stopped supplying neon to foreign markets. Agree, this scenario doesn't seem impossible. As far as I was able to search the web, neon stocks of companies are estimated for a period of 3 to 12 months. Let's take the maximum value, 12 months. Measures must be taken to ensure that neon supplies don't run out. How quickly can you create your own neon production? Supply frame expert Richard Barnett claims that it will take other countries from 9 months to 2 years to create neon production. In addition, even if neon production is established, then, based on TrendForce data, certification of neon of such high purity may take from 6 months to 1 calendar year. Also, it's worth noting that in order to create neon, a country must have a highly developed metallurgical industry with large production volumes. So, let's consider 3 scenarios regarding the timing of the creation of alternative sources of neon for the semiconductor industry. Positive scenario is 9 months of production plus 6 months of certification equals 15 months. Neutral scenario is 17 months of production plus 9 months of certification equals 26 months. Negative scenario is 24 months of production plus 12 months of certification equals 36 months. And this is without taking into account the time for concluding contracts, establishing new supply chains, especially with such logistics problems. As a result, the creation of alternative neon production capacities may take years. Is it possible to switch to a technology that doesn't need neon? There are such technologies for the production of semiconductors: deep ultraviolet lithography (DUV) and extreme ultraviolet lithography (EUV). EUV is a more modern technology which, moreover, doesn't need neon. However, based on ASML data, most semiconductors are now produced with the use of DUV lithography. As we can see, DRAM and 3D NAND are heavily dominated by DUV technology. This domination is stronger in more simple types of SSDs than 3D NAND. Thus, microelectronics is very dependent on DUV, especially RAM and flash memory. Logic, which also includes processors, is also dominated by DUV technology. For example, the 5nm Apple A14 processor also uses DUV technology. It is worth noting that neon is definitely used in argon fluoride and krypton fluoride lasers, but there are questions regarding RFI and I-line lasers. But still, we can see that argon fluoride and krypton fluoride lasers are used almost everywhere, which means that neon is still needed. If someone understands this area more deeply, you can express your position in comments. So, DUV is widely represented in many types of microelectronics, if not all. Thus, in the short term, it will be very difficult to avoid a shortage of neon, because it takes significant time to establish neon production, but it takes years to switch to EUV on a larger scale. Number 2. Hexafluorocyclobutene. The next gas that is important in electronics manufacturing is hexafluorocyclobutene or C4F6. The chemical C4F6 is used in the dry etching stage when the silicon dioxide film needs to be removed in order to continue semiconductor production. This process is one of the key stages in the production of semiconductors, including processors. Since the semiconductor process for 3D structures requires a significant number of layers, it requires a significant number of etching steps. The shortage of C4F6 will have a particularly large impact on the production of 3D NAND memory, which is used, for example, in the production of SSDs for servers, some advanced logic chips. Also, according to the report by the Semiconductor Industry Association, once a manufacturing facility is calibrated to use C4F6, it can't be replaced. According to this report, C4F6 sales in 2019 were about $250 million, with the top 3 suppliers being Japan, 40% of global supplies, Russia, 25%, and South Korea, 23%. If such a disruption in C4F6 supply becomes permanent, NAND production levels will potentially be kept for 2 to 3 years until new capacity is ready for mass production. Number 3. Palladium. The share of Russia in the world production of palladium is approximately 35–40%. Palladium is very important to the electronics industry. Examples of the use of palladium: PCB substrate, semiconductor plating, capacitors, etc. Also, very important components in the production of semiconductors are platinum, nickel, titanium, rhodium. All these metals were also supplied by Russia to international markets. These metals will be discussed in more detail in a future issue. Impact on markets. In my opinion, the memory industry will suffer the most, especially 3D NAND memory. Therefore, I think that Samsung, SK Hynix, Micron should be treated with caution. I also think that American microelectronics companies will suffer the most because 90% of neon for the US semiconductor industry was supplied from Ukraine, 35% of palladium was supplied from Russia. How to replace such supplies isn't clear yet. Intel may suffer the most, as many of its production facilities are located in the United States. Yes, there are orders for TSMC, but AMD, for example, has a larger share in orders of TSMC. Servers and those companies that use their services may also suffer. The logic is simple. Components for servers are becoming more expensive, the cost of services is also becoming more expensive. This may also affect IT companies as server costs will rise. Cars. The production of cars and electric vehicles without chips will simply stop. Auto manufacturers should be viewed with caution. The only thing that can be assumed is that Chinese car and electric vehicles manufacturers can benefit. Since the semiconductor industry is actively developing in China, there is neon, metals. Also, with high inflation, people will be more inclined to purchase more budget car models. Laptops and phones. If there are no chips, DRAM, flash memory, how will modern phones, laptops and computers work? The list of industries that can suffer from a shortage of semiconductors can be long, because it affects almost all industries. Can anyone come out of this situation as a winner? TSMC and ASML have chances. Due to possible shortages, the demand for EUV may increase. This technology could be worth its weight in gold, which could benefit ASML, which has a monopoly in the production of EUV machines. TSMC in turn is a leader in the use of these machines, which can also improve its position. However, I don't rule out that even these companies could suffer hard in the short term. Conclusion. Thus, Russia is an important supplier of gases and metals for semiconductors and products from them. Without Russian supplies, we can expect both a significant increase in prices for these products and the suspension of production. A shortage of semiconductors may lead to massive inflation in almost all sectors of the economy, if not all. And the absence of semiconductors threatens the existence of entire industries, which can lead to threats to the global economy. Therefore, for the global semiconductor and microelectronics industries, the statement is true: Russia matters. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, share this video with your friends. It was EconoMillion. Have a nice day.